The Department of Basic Education has issued a notice to all teachers who were granted concession to work from home during the lockdown to return to work tomorrow. Their return coincides with the move now to level 1 of the nationwide lockdown. Over 22,000 teachers were given permission to work from home as they were deemed high risk because of pre-existing comorbidities. The South African Democratic Teachers Union has advised educators who are not ready to return to school on Monday to apply for normal leave as the concession agreement for them to work from home expires. For more on this, I'm joined now by SADTU General Secretary Mugwena Maluleke. Mugwena, good evening and thank you very much for your time. Are teachers ready to return to school? What messages are you getting and reports from them?
Good evening and thanks for having us indeed. And thanks for the question. Well, yes, the agreement has come to an end. However, the virus has not come to an end. And clearly it is that the department has got a responsibility to ensure that there is a safety and health environment for them to be able to work. It's very, very important. And the messages we are getting from some of them are saying, look, we are at risk. We are still not well. And therefore, in terms of the media that the department has issued, those members qualify for applying of leave so that they can enable the schools to have a substitute with immediate effect so that learners are not disadvantaged. The teachers who are at school are not overloaded because they are not teachers. So yes, there's a number of issues that needs to be addressed around this particular issue of the comorbidities, despite the fact that the agreement has ended. Clearly it is that the department was supposed to have assessed medical reports upon return of those particular teachers to determine how they are going to be working and how they will then be protected from the exposure in terms of the work environment. So there's a lot of things that needs to happen. Unfortunately, the department is very excited instead of looking at the health of the teachers.
Truth be told, besides the department being really excited, is the fact that schools are already facing chronic shortage of teachers. And COVID-19 exacerbated the matter with teachers now being at home. The department has not been able to recruit the necessary teachers to be able to fill the gap.
Yes, they have not, because they took the money that was meant for the substitute teacher, 2.1 billion, that they have donated it to the relief fund. I mean, this is it's unheard of anywhere in the world. Education has been one of the frontline services that receive the relief fund because education is very, very important for the recovery of our economy, but also very important to building resilience in our communities through the ambassadors who are our teachers and our learners. So yes, the teachers may be returning to school. Some of them may not be able to return to school because of their age and so forth. So therefore, they need to ensure that because now they can take leave, the school will qualify for a substitute teacher. At least that is the difference.
So your unintended consequence then by your advice is that there will be gaps. Knowing already that our recruitment is not going well, how will those gaps be filled? We don't have enough substitute teachers. Yes, it now allows them to hire a substitute teacher, but it doesn't seem like we have those substitute teachers available.
Well, we believe that the number of teachers who will be returning will be more than those who will not be able to return because they are seriously at risk. So those who can be able to manage the comorbidities will be able to return to school. But we need to be very clear about the fact that you cannot risk a person who is already at risk, because that in itself is going to deny the learners that particular service of the teacher who will not be there. So yes, we have got to work together with the department. However, this should have been a matter that should have been addressed a month ago when we knew that level 1 is coming, so that we don't have a school tomorrow without the necessary support, the necessary teachers that are supposed to be helping all the grades that are there. So it's important that we always make sure that our children come first, and therefore the safety of the teachers who are supposed to help our children is also taken into account, and that is a priority number 1 for the Department of Education and all of us. So yes, we need to work together.
What type of chronic illnesses are we talking about here, Mugwena? I mean, if those people have given you a call and indicated to you, and are they able to continue to work from home? And what are the arrangements that can be put in place in terms of the laws of this country?
Well, the problem of working at home that we have discovered has been that the department has not been able to give them the gadgets for them to be able to work at home, that it has not been properly guided in terms of the guidelines. So it is not something that needs to be considered for now. What has got to happen now, it is that those who are able to be coming back, and we believe it's going to be the majority of our teachers who will then be able to come back and be able to work under a safe environment, that would be able to happen. So those who are unable, we need to be able to understand how we can help them. So yeah, clearly it is that we're looking at the possibilities that those what you call grade post-level 1 teachers who have got to be able to be teaching grade 12, most of them will be coming back. We have been speaking to them, and then some of them are suffering from asthmatic conditions, some are suffering from cardiovascular diseases, and some have got compromised immune system, and some have got a problem with the respiratory problems and so forth. So it's quite a number of conditions that are there, but some of the conditions, according to the teachers and their reports, are saying are manageable as long as the environment is made to be safe, that the exposure is minimized, and therefore look at how they are able to work at the staff room, how they are able to interact with the children when they're at school, because working at home has not been able to afford the teacher to have those gadgets, but also the principals have been under pressure, to be honest, in terms of them not being able to access those teachers because of connectivity in the rural areas. So they really need substitute teachers if the teachers are going to take leave.
Without being cynical, especially in those rural areas, the idea of a safe working environment is a fallacy, quite honestly. 600 pupils are going to quarantine now because we couldn't keep them safe. How are we going to keep the teachers safe?
Well, the schools have built resilience. Let's not just be negative just because of one school. That they must be able to investigate what's happening in the Eastern Cape in particular. This is the second time where you have got so many number of learners having to be testing positive of COVID-19, whereas other schools are managing very well to ensure that they train the teachers, they train the learners, they speak to the parents so that we are all able to observe all the regulation and do it all, because it's very, very important. What is happening in the Eastern Cape obviously qualifies for investigation very seriously, because you cannot have so many students testing positive, because it means something is not going right. So we shouldn't judge all the schools. The schools that are in the rural areas, in the township, have been doing their best, and I think we need to appreciate that and also thank them for the service that they are rendering to our children and to our communities. So yes, let's work together to ensure that the Eastern Cape can get into line and making sure that there's compliance, because we don't know what has happened, and I think the investigation will be able to prove exactly whether there's compliance. The first school that has got so many learners tested, we were able to find out that there was little compliance, and that should have been taken into account. But many schools are complying.
Now, do you think it's a correct decision for the exams to continue with so many learners, especially in the Eastern Cape, now having to quarantine at home?
Well, it shouldn't be continuing. Those learners should be able to be given another opportunity for them to be able to write, so other learners can continue with the examination, but that school cannot, because they need to be given psychosocial services, they need to be strengthened, they need to be supported, and therefore you need to take time before you put them into another a stressful situation of them thinking about writing on whether, thinking about whether they are positive or not positive because they are on quarantine. So that school should not proceed with examination at all. And I think the MEC should be taking that into account, because the MEC is an adult. He should be understanding how the learners and the teachers are feeling at this particular moment at that particular school. They are traumatized. They are worried. They have got fears. And therefore his job should be to send as many people as possible to provide professional service to those particular learners, rather than to be obsessed with writing that particular examination. Another paper will have to be set for the learners when they are ready to write the trial examination.